Let's see. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Say hello. We are just making sure all the things are connecting. And I'm checking my phone, and that's what I'm doing. Just to see. But we are here today with Susan Chang. All right, let me see. I'm just making sure. It's just spinning. Instagram's spinning on us. So we're going to give it a minute and let it adjust itself.
Sounds good.
Yes. So, is spring like totally going for you right
It's
now?
so
Like,
weird here because we had a week that was like 85, 90, and then it's been freezing this week, so it's just doing that thing where it just pings back and forth. It's figuring
right.
itself out.
Yes. Now, where are you? What state are you in?
I'm in Massachusetts in the western part.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah. Yeah.
about that. Right. All
Yeah,
right.
so you know Worcester, but we're about another 40 minutes west of Worcester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. All right. So you're probably not even that far from me, even in New York.
Probably not.
No, because I mean that's like about like halfway through there. All right.
Mhm.
We are on Instagram. We're on the
Very good.
hello, everybody. Thank you
Hi,
for joining
everybody.
us. Make sure you come on and say hello if you're here. And I'll put my pen down. Like, do you ever do that? Like, you just like hold on to like
Oh
something,
yeah, all the time.
and I'm like,
All the time.
pen. I'm not writing anything.
No, I don't feel fully awake if I don't have a pen, you know.
Right. Like, there's something about it. It must be a writer thing, maybe. Like, you just feel like
Probably.
you
Yeah.
need that, right? It makes you just feel secure. It's like a teddy bear, especially if it's a really good pen.
Everything will be okay if you have a pen.
Absolutely. You know. So, everybody, hello. And for those of you joining on Instagram, we are here today with Susan Chang. And we are going to just chat about some tarot stuff. Her new book that's coming out May 8th, right? Is that when it's
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
it is, and it is available for pre-order now. So here he is, the Living Tarot,
The
and I do
Living
get
Tarot. Do, 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 do.
go
Hooray.
into it. Now, one thing, like the cover is really nice, and it's got like this little like shine to it. Like I
Yes, they
like
have some spot
it.
lamination on there, I think. Yeah, on the lettering. Yeah, no, they did a beautiful job with it, and they were so accommodating with me because I really, really wanted to have Rider-Waite-Smith imagery on it, which, is not always easy for publishers to arrange. And, and they did it in this way so that you can actually see, like, it's like the figures are popping out of the cards. They're kind of
They're
coming
living.
out. They're living. They're alive. And they did that throughout the book too, which I love.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I really like that too in the color. It's such like a soothing yellow. So it's like,
I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it's actually like the same color as 36 Secrets, my last book, so which is self-published. So I don't know if they did that.
I totally did not make that connection, but look at that. You
Yeah.
have a vibe. I
I
love
have a
it.
vibe.
You have a vibe. Yeah, so this, and I love the size of this book. Like
I
just
do
the
too.
physical
Yeah.
part of it. I love that it's like it's meaty, like
Hmm.
you're diving in here. So this
Yes,
book is actually based on a course that you do, right?
that's right. That's
To
right. Yes.
us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Living Tarot course is my online course, and it's my main tarot teaching course. It's been around for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, something like that. And basically, my belief was that I wasn't sure that I could teach anybody tarot at all because I think we really teach ourselves.
Hmm.
It's mostly experience and having the confidence to do it. But
Absolutely.
I did think that over time, I thought, well, it's probably possible to teach someone to teach themselves tarot.
Right.
so,
Yes.
so
Pretty cool,
basically,
right?
yeah, that course it's a teach a man to fish. It's basically it's an infrastructure and a sort of a step-by-step way to acquire all of the things you need to read fluently. And to me, learning to read tarot is about being able to see tarot in everything around you, being able to use tarot like a language so that, if you and I are talking, it's not just two people talking. It could be, We could be the Three of Cups or the Two of Cups talking. We could be, if you are going on a trip, you're not just getting in your car, you might be getting in the chariot.
Yes.
So, yeah, and I think that there are certain things that we all share in terms of seeing those connections in everyday life in the cards, and then there are things that are specific to each of us. So what I tried to do is create a way of building a bridge between, just the received common meanings and the way they're going to show up in your life. And to
Okay.
me, it's one of the most important things is to just see how tarot wants to tell you it's going to show up. And that's why I really am a huge, huge proponent of card of the day. I think
Yeah.
that, if you draw a card every day, it's so much easier in some ways because
Mhm.
the cards will themselves show you, this is what I mean. When I give you the Ten of Swords, this is what I'm trying to tell you, which I've gotten like 20 times this year. But
Well, and I think it's that relatability. And,
yeah.
as you're moving, and even as you start moving past the card of the day, then you
Hmm.
can start really noticing these, sequences and these different little things. And like you
Hmm.
said, and really like what your whole book is about is just creating your own meanings and how
Exactly.
you can use them. And I do think, everybody says when you're first reading tarot, do a card of the day, and that's it, right? Like what they tell you, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right. But I love
And
you have like a full chapter on it. Like
oh
you
yeah.
have a detailed, explanation of why you're doing, of how to do it, why it's beneficial, what you can get out of it. And I love that because and I love too that here, I'm gonna show everybody too, because you guys don't have it yet, but I do. And but you have this, it's like a workbook style, so
Yes,
that you really get into this and write it out instead of just thinking about it. Because for me,
exactly.
writing is magic, and actually physically writing it out is what kind of supports it in your own head and cements it into your subconscious.
Exactly. I mean, I think the idea here is that this is your book. You make it your own. It becomes your like tarot grimoire so that everything you do becomes, you have a record of it and it's something that you prize and that infuses your life. I mean, this is the Ace of Wands, right? The pen is the Ace of Wands. And if you have the Ace of Wands, then you have everything.
And and I again, that it's so helpful if you don't have cards, or they're
Hmm.
they're right there for you. And
They're
then
right
that,
there. Yeah.
I think that's really helpful. And I like the fact too that it's the writer Wade Smith, because
Hmm.
there are so many decks out there. Obviously, we know that, and some of them are
Yeah.
very abstract, and it can make it a little bit harder to read. And when
Yeah.
somebody is first starting, you kind of get that, like, oh, this deck is beautiful and this deck is beautiful. But when you get it, you can't really
Yeah.
connect to it because you haven't built your own tarot language yet.
Right.
And
And the great thing about Rider Waite Smith is that it's the lingua franca. Everybody speaks Rider Waite Smith.
right,
So,
yeah,
you're always going to be able to find out more about it and to, share your thoughts with other people and they'll know what you're talking about.
right. And it's
Yeah.
and even though there are a lot of decks too that are based on the Rider Waite,
Hmm.
I think it's just so important to kind of, and this is my own opinion, is that I think it's important to start there. And
I
like,
think so too.
I when
Yeah.
I saw that, I was like, yes, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And you have like all these assignments in here. Like, this is
Mhm.
really, you go through this, and by the time you're done, you will have, I just feel like such a good knowledge of the cards, but also the good knowledge of the cards in a relatable way that, I feel like too, to just make somebody such a more confident reader.
I
Um,
hope so. I think that, when we start out reading tarot, we all have really similar issues that we're trying to sort out. We're trying to sort out, like, first of all, is it okay for us to do this? Can we do it? If we've never considered ourselves psychic, is this something we can work with? What about fate? What about free will? How do I consistently gain meaning from the cards? How do I read for somebody else? So this is really a way of taking you through all of those questions one by one and leaving you confident at the end to do readings. By the end, in some of the assignments are actually, asking you to sit down with someone and help them through the cards. So,
Right, right,
um,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. So by
Yeah,
the time you're done, you should have quite a bit of experience.
yeah, and, I think it's really helpful too that you put in here, kind of like a timeline
Hmm.
of like,
Yeah.
"Listen, work on this for this long, work on this for this long," because, again, we wanna know everything right this second, and I think that's another common mistake of new tarot readers,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
they're like, "You have all these cards, you have all these symbols, but I wanna know it right now." So you're just basically like, "Hold up. This is how
Yeah.
long to work on this," and I think that's really helpful because nobody tells you that. Nobody's like,
Exactly.
"Take the time
Exactly.
yes, and get to know everything." So
Right. I mean, we experience our lives in real time, and tarot's
right,
kind of like that too. I mean, I think that I've seen people go through the course really fast, and usually fast means that you just have to keep doing more tarot to sort of flesh it out. But,
mhm,
if you take your time and you sort of keep track of what's happening out in the cards as they relate to your lives, it becomes sort of gradually like you're growing your tarot knowledge around you like a piece of armor or like it's become something that you live and breathe and an ecosystem that you take with you.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how did you get started in tarot? Like, what's your tarot story?
My
Tell us.
tarot story. So
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, I first saw someone seriously working with tarot in 1987 when I was just going to college, so a long time ago. And it was the woman down the hall from me. She had a Marseille deck, and I tell this story in the back of the book. And it was sort of like this was not a very woohoo place. She was it was full of smart intellectual people, but she was just completely confident doing this thing that I thought was completely out there. I mean, nothing in my life had conditioned me to think that this was okay.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like I was against tarot for any religious or spiritual reasons. It was just like, this is nonsense, right? I mean, who does that? So, and I was just amazed by the fact that she could look at 78 whole cards, and remember all these meanings and apply them to people's lives. I thought it was incredible. And just like everybody else, I would like kind of, settle in on her and ask about whoever I had a crush on and and like
Or
everybody was sliding into her room and just like constantly asking the do they like me question. So so yeah, I mean, I think she opened my eyes to it, but it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I really thought it was okay for me to try
Mhm.
doing tarot. Like a lot of people, I think those were my experimental years.
Right.
So I just decided when I moved back to New York in the 90s that I was gonna just try and pick up a deck and go. And in those years, that was in New York, there were some resources. Walden Ruth Amberstone had the tarot school there. They still do.
I know
And I
they
would
are
occasionally, yeah, they're so lovely. And I didn't know, but I don't think Reader Studio was happening yet. They weren't even married yet, but
very well.
but I would sometimes drop in on their school and, take a class with them or check
Yeah.
out what was going on in the conversation. So yeah, and so that was something that I would do just sort of on the side while making a living doing other things. Mostly I was in publishing in those years. And
Oh,
yeah, I was in academic publishing. And then I guess it wasn't really until like about 10 years ago, 9, 10 years ago, I really started getting very serious about tarot when I discovered like all you wonderful people are out there having a conversation on social media. And
right.
I found that incredibly inspiring. So I thought, well, let me start answering all the questions I've ever had about tarot.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah. And for me, the first sort of thing was kind of diving into systems because, like many people, I was fascinated to realize that there was this whole like astrological, elemental, numerological system in the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, and that it was, something that was not just imposed by us, but baked in by the creators. So that was where I started. And as I started kind of getting more into it, I realized that I really needed somebody to bounce ideas off us and, have a conversation about what was going on esoterically in every card. And that's where the Fortune's Wheelhouse podcast came from.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just
so I
if anybody wants to check that out, so much information on there.
so much.
Oh, it's fantastic. So much.
It's so much. I mean, it is a lot, and I actually sometimes caution people away from it if they're not ready for that because
Well, yeah,
it's kind of
like
a fire hose.
first and then dive into the astrological parts of the things.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of Kabbalah from day one.
Right, right. But it's a great source of
Yeah.
information. It really is.
It
And
is, and I mean, I find that, it's so comprehensive that I don't remember everything that's on there. And then when Mel and I recorded that, we would cram for days, just like stuffing our heads full of knowledge in order to like dump it all out in the podcast. So
yeah.
now, I go back to the podcast and I really listen to it because I'm like, that's a really interesting fact I don't remember. So,
You're like, I talked about this, but I don't remember exactly what it meant. Let me go revisit. It is.
exactly.
And well, I think too with anything astrology, unless you're using it every single day,
Every single day. Yeah.
easy for it to just kind of filter out, because I guess we only have so much brain capacity for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what was your first tarot deck?
Rider-Waite-Smith, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Barnes and Noble and I just bought one, you
Right,
know.
right. No, that was mine too. I went to this little
Yeah.
bookstore, and that was good. That was the
Did you
only one
buy
that
it for yourself too?
I did. I bought it for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
I was 14, actually, and
Fantastic.
I grabbed it, and it was also, similar to like where you're saying, all I had was that and the little white book that came with it.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
it because there was no internet at that
There
point.
was nothing, right? It was all
There was
different
nothing.
back
And
then.
you went
Yeah.
to the library, but the metaphysical section was this big, and the
Right.
book would, if something was checked out, it would be checked out forever because you could like recheck it out a couple of times. And
Yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
always on the wait list, and then I would get it, and I would just actually, don't tell the library. I would take a notebook and just rewrite it, like
Yeah.
rewrite the stuff so I had it,
I
and
know.
that
I
was it.
know.
And
Yeah.
like you said, then all of a sudden, like the internet kind of happened, and you're like, other people do this,
Other
and they
people
like
do this. I
this
know.
thing.
It was amazing. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I totally agree with that, and I think people now just learning are very lucky in that respect, but also in a way too, it kind of forced me to do it the way
Right.
you did in your book.
Yeah, because how else are you gonna learn, right? Yeah.
It's kind of how I had to do it. So it
Yeah. Yeah.
really, and that I think that's why when I started kind of breezing through, I'm like, yes, because that is it. That's kind of how I had to go about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember what back in those days, there was Rachel's book, 78 Degrees, and there was Mary Greer's Tarot for Yourself. And those two were just like the Bible. I mean, they
And it
still
was
kind of are, but but
no, absolutely,
and there was
absolutely.
nothing else,
Yeah.
nothing else serious. Yeah, no, I really believe that. And it's funny. It's like I'm a huge public library fan. I literally live across from the town library. They built it after we moved here, which I thought was like some kick-ass karma. But
Yeah.
they built it after we moved there, and over the years, I would give them books and books and books, like mostly cookbooks, because that's one of the things I do.
Oh
And
yes, just
and
awesome.
so I've also given them copies of my tarot books, and they were very polite about it, even though I could tell that this was not something they were planning on. So I
You're
would
like,
give them the books. And then last month, I was talking to one of the librarians, and she was like, your books just keep going out on interlibrary loan. They're just like
Yes,
constantly going on. And I'm like, yeah, because there's only like two of them in the system and people need them.
they
So
do. It's so
yeah,
true. Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I love that. No, I'm a library nerd. Like that's just one of
Oh,
those
they're the
things
best.
that
Yeah.
I don't think, and we have all the resources now. You could buy them online, you could do it this way. But there's just something about going to the library and
Yeah.
checking out the book and looking
Yeah.
at books that you wouldn't normally maybe even get. And
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think, I think that's just one of those things that I wish more younger people would take advantage of. And they're free. Hello.
Yeah, and they're free. And they're free. Yeah.
you know, that's one of
So
those
true.
things. Like even with my kids, I mean, we were at the library all the time. I
Yeah.
just always wanted them to be there and kind of get there, know how to use it. There's people that
Yeah.
go there and they
Yeah.
don't know what to do or even anything. But unfortunately, they don't. A lot of the libraries don't have like the old fashioned card catalogs anymore. It's all in the computer.
Yeah, it's all on the computer. Yeah. Yeah. But they are truly magical places,
They
libraries.
are, and I think it's also, even if you just need to get away out of your house, because I mean a lot of people work out of their houses, and
Mhm.
just to go and to focus, like you want to get your book, go to the
Yeah.
library and just sit at the table and work on it, and then no
Yeah.
distractions.
Exactly.
And I think that's
Yeah.
also another thing that people forget about. They forget that you can go there and no one will bother.
No one will bother you. Exactly. Yeah, I hope that people realize that tarot is it's more than, something we do just to get spooky information for, to
Yes.
impress our friends, right? It's more than even a magical tool. It's a way of, you know, facing the world. I think tarot to me tarot is like not just the cards, but kind of a way of looking at the world.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
and I think just the act of shuffling the cards and drawing the cards is a small microcosm of being able to face anything that the world has to offer you, because everything out there is in here. So when you shuffle and draw a card, it's a message to the universe that you are willing to face anything. You are willing, to face whatever the day brings you, which is an incredible act of courage. And
yeah,
I think especially when, so many of us deal with anxiety or depression, or all so many different things that make it difficult to get up in the morning and face this world, this crazy world. I
yeah.
think tarot is not just a good idea, but almost essential, or
Right.
something like tarot.
Like, yeah, really, I mean, if you're picking up any sort of divination, but I think too
Mhm.
with tarot too, it almost, when we are feeling overwhelmed, when, like you said, all this crazy stuff's going on, and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
it helps you to focus your energy as
It
well.
does, yeah.
And then like, okay, well, even if you wake up and you're in the deep throes of depression, it's like, pull a card of the day. What is your
Yeah.
focus gonna be
Yeah.
today? And you know what? If you even do a little, even just pulling that card, you've
Mhm.
accomplished something today. You know?
Exactly.
And I think
Exactly.
that's really
Yeah.
important too, that people realize that it isn't just like you said, back in the day, I would do the fairs and the expos, and people
Yeah.
would come to me and they'd be like, "Oh, can you tell me if I'm gonna die?" And it's like, "Do I look like the Grim Reaper?"
Answer, yes.
No, yeah, we're not gonna do that. But what can we do to prevent you from dying? How about we go there, right? And because it
Yeah.
can also be
Yeah.
that like counseling type thing, and
Mhm.
to like even for people that want to get a reading from somebody, right?
Mhm.
Is realizing you could go to that, go to somebody, a reader, and be like, listen, I have the situation going on. What can we do to make it better? What can we do to
Yeah.
change it? What
Yeah.
can we do to all of that? So like, what advice do you have for people who are new readers, and they do have people coming to them with these crazy questions, and you're just like,
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I think I'm a huge proponent of just being really honest as a reader, and one of the things I suggest that people do somewhere sort of towards the I think chapter 5 or 6 is kind of develop a script of you what you believe in as a reader and where you're willing to go as a reader, where your boundaries are. And just to let them know that right at the outset. And you don't have to be mean, you don't have to be a dick about it. I mean, you can just be like,
Oh,
this is what I'm able to do, and
right.
and this is how I can help. And
Yes.
if that works for you, fantastic.
Yeah.
Basically, you're just there to help. And if you can help, then great. And if you can't, then they'll find somebody else. It's
Right.
not a big deal. And also, I think, one of the things that's so important about a tarot reading is that it's a conversation between two people, right? And both people's points of view matter. And if
Yeah.
they're not fully engaged in it and really interested in what the cards have to say, or if they're scared or nervous, it's not going to make for as good a reading. So you really want people to be able to be there right with you, to know that if they see something in the cards, that's equally valid, right?
Absolutely. I'm big on that too.
Yeah, yeah, because it really is ultimately you want them to have the transformational experience. It's great if you see stuff and you're like blown away, but if they're like, you know,
They're like, okay, and
okay,
I'm
and then you didn't do your job, right?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And and just speaking on the other, the person you're reading for, seeing what they see in the cards, sometimes you don't even realize what's going on. You don't realize what's going on with somebody or any of that. And you only know what they tell you. So if they're
right.
like, say like the butterfly pops up and they're like, oh my gosh, like my grandmother always said that if,
Yes,
I passed away, that and that person, that might be that stupid little butterfly in that card might be all
exactly.
the reassurance that they needed. You
Exactly. That
know?
might be exactly what they're looking for. Yeah.
So if it's not big to you as the reader, to them it might be the
It
whole
might
thing,
be
like
everything. It
everything,
might be everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. And and even like you said, the setting of boundaries, super important,
Yeah.
super, super
Yeah.
important, because I do think a lot of readers um think that they have to read for everyone. They think they have to read for everyone at every time of the
Yeah.
day. They have to,
Yeah.
all of that. And do you have any advice on boundaries?
Yeah, I think it's good to, do the work in your head, right? To imagine what it's like doing the reading and to say, where will I feel uncomfortable? Where will I feel like I'm getting too far out over my skis? Like, if somebody asks me, will I ever find love? Right? You know, eh,
Common. We hear that.
Yes, you know, and I think that it's a difficult balance because Rachel Pollack once told me, I took her out to lunch years ago, and she would tell me, that she didn't have a lot of patience for people reframing the question because because she would be like, who am I to say whether it's a good question or not, right?
Yeah.
But so there's that. I always try to answer the question, but I also try to know like what my own limits are. If someone asks me, do I have cancer? I'm going to say, I don't actually know how to answer that question,
Right.
but but here's what I can do for you, right? Here's how I can help you navigate the stress of being worried that you're sick, right?
Exactly.
Or things that I know that I can do. So the only real way to establish that is to go through the process, right? And to do the reading or to read for lots of friends and family and see what you're comfortable with and what you're not. And if sometimes somebody will ask me one of those whack questions or one of those way out there questions, and it's something that they clearly need to have some kind of answer about, regardless of how I feel about it, and I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, here's what the cards say. Here's, and I remove myself from the process. I'll say,
Yeah.
this is what tarot is saying. Tarot is expressing it in a low key way, or tarot is being very dramatic about it. Here's some of the meanings that go around this card. And I often will conclude with, I could be wrong, because
Right, right,
honestly,
like
let's be human beings about this, right? You know?
absolutely. Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
I think that's so important too that, even though you are reading tarot and you're doing those things, and you're still human, you're still a
You're
person.
still a
And
human being.
you have
Exactly.
to remember that. I think that's so important too,
It's
because
really important not to get hung up on the accuracy question, right? Because it's like, yes, tarot will give you what you need to know, but it may not come out in like, a farmer's almanac form, right?
exactly. Well, yeah, the
Yeah,
way that you want it, because sometimes they want that yes or no. And
right.
it's the universal energy. They don't deal in yes or no. They go around the block a couple times and up a couple hills, and then I'll give you your answer. And I think too,
Yeah,
with the new readers, like just knowing that sometimes you give them all the information, like you said, this is what the
yeah,
cards are saying, and they're like, well, I don't know about that. I don't, and it's like, give it some time. And that, like, I
yeah.
say that so many times, like,
Give it
just
some time.
on it,
Yeah,
some time. And really, 9 times out of 10, I'll have someone message me and be like, oh my gosh, okay,
exactly.
now I know what you meant.
But
You
in the moment, they often need permission to doubt you, right? They need to
know?
feel like they can't, there is some wiggle room that,
Right.
that they have free will and that, and that's really important for all of us, I think, just the sense that we're still agents in our own lives. And if tarot is disempowering us, then we're also doing something wrong, right?
Right. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it's so important for us to just again remember that we're human and that
Yeah.
maybe we aren't going to hit the mark every single time, and that's okay.
Right.
And
Right.
I kind of also feel like in a way maybe again down the line you'll think of that moment, or because it didn't go right, that's an experience that you can use at another time and
Yeah. Yeah.
log that, and that's again, even, going to your book too, that's making your own, your own little, catalog. I'll use that again as of
Exactly.
all the things going on. And that's,
And how they show up. Yeah.
and yeah, and that is so, so important.
I think
And
it
in
is,
the,
and I think also as readers, we can only really say what we experience ourselves, right?
right.
Or what we can imagine, which is
And
why I think the imagination of a reader is almost their most important asset, like the ability to imagine something that's way beyond my own life, or what I'm familiar with. I mean, literally, I spend 5 days out of 7 here in my office, drinking tea. That experience doesn't do that much for anybody. Fortunately, I have memories, I have, further experience, I have people I talk to, I have
yeah.
movies I watch. All of this, the inside of the mind is so much bigger than the outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love to in here that you do touch on reversals, because that's a hot topic. And people, and that's so I feel like especially lately, probably in the last 2 years, that's been such a thing, and everybody's got their opinion on it, and everybody thinks they're right. And again, I think it's, what I always say, just try it, see what you think about it.
Exactly.
If you don't like it, if it freaks you out, just don't do it.
Well,
But
that's exactly
somebody else,
right. Yeah.
somebody else does it, that's okay. It's okay. So, do you have any advice or thoughts on reverse?
Yeah, I totally do. I mean, I think I'm very broad-minded about reversals personally. I do use them, and
Mhm.
I recommend that if you're going to use reversals, that you do it in a way that gives you maximum room for interpretation rather than being just like, this is bad, this is negative, this is the opposite of whatever this is, and whether even if it's a good card or a bad card, which we don't even believe exists, it's going to
Exactly.
be bad if it's going to be upside down. Like people get really hung up
So,
on that, and that is not a way to live your life. Right? That is
yeah,
just not a way to live and feel powerful in the
lots
world.
of anxiety.
Exactly. So if reading reverse cards makes you anxious, don't do it. Right. That's bottom line. But if you do, you know, always encourage people to consider the reversal as like an asterisk or a gray area or something that's just not quite straightforward about it. And Mary Greer's book is fantastic on it. There's a whole chapter on it in here, in the Living Tarot. And I think that I think that life is full of gray areas, and I think that reversals are a way of capturing that.
Yeah.
The other thing, of course, is that especially if you're dealing with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, I mean, a reversal means that he's going to be looking the other way, right? And
Right.
literally, he might be looking at a different card than he would be if he were looking this way. So, I'm a huge fan of just using the visual language of the card to say,
Absolutely.
what are you looking at now? And this happens a lot with court cards. Like,
Well,
court cards
yeah,
constantly
absolutely.
coming up. Most of them are oriented to one side or the other. And by looking at what they're so interested in, or
Yeah.
even putting a card there if you don't have one, you get incredible insight into what is motivating and what is concerning that character.
Right. Yeah, and again, it's that perception. It gives a whole new avenue to even go down as far as if you
Yeah.
are looking for a way to, rectify a situation, or, maybe that court card is representing somebody, and that person you're
Hmm.
reading for is like, wow, that person really reminds me of so and so. Why are they
Yeah.
looking at this? What is this situation that they're
Exactly, exactly. Or if like you're doing a relationship reading and you have two cards and sometimes they're looking at each other and sometimes
right?
they're looking away from each other, or one is looking at the other and the other's looking off at who knows what. That
Right.
gives you an incredible amount of information like in 2 seconds.
Right, and that's and as a beginner, it's so important to utilize that, because you don't even have to
You don't
know
need
what's
to.
going on. You just look at it, and if the dude's looking that way and she's looking at him, and then you pull another card, and then we got like the Empress on the other side, you're like, shit. I really rethink this, sweetheart, because I don't his attention is not quite near you at the moment. It's like
Yeah.
it makes it so easy, and the way you even are explaining, you explain in
Mhm,
the book is very easy to grasp, and
mhm,
and I love that, and that always helps. And the other part that actually the chapter that I thought was really cool that you added was the
mhm.
laws and the liabilities, because people
Yeah.
don't know this. People
Yeah, you have to do
know this.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so boring and it's so depressing, but we all have to adult a little in our lives.
Damn it. Susie, no, I don't want to. But it is because, well, and I know for in New York, which I'm sure there
Yeah.
are laws, and to practice, like, you have to be ordained. So that was something that I did. I went online,
Did you do a
didn't
universal life?
yeah, and I'm like, woo! And I actually winded up marrying somebody, so it kind of worked out, and it was really cool. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all right, but that's what you needed to do in order, so checking that, because
Yeah.
if somebody is, say, and this is for new readers, if like you have a reading and it doesn't go fantastic, the person can be just really pissed at you. And, it's like,
Yeah.
the person that wants to go to the Better Business Bureau and just report everybody, like it can cause static. So
Right.
I
Right.
definitely think that was important to put in here. And yes, that is a part of adulting that you probably want to check out.
Yeah, and it's like even if you don't do it, it's really important for you to know. Just, so I mean, there are some people who are like more willing to take risks in life. Some people are willing to drive 20 miles over the speed limit,
Right.
but you know what you're
Sure.
doing when you do it, right?
No, it is. It's so important. It's so important. But yeah, I mean, you did a fantastic job on this,
Thank
and I think
you.
it's really, yeah, it's so much information, but not in an overwhelming way, and really usable, which is great, because there
I
are
hope
people
so.
out there that you read it and you're like, all right, that's cute. Now what? But you're like, we could do stuff with this. This is good. I like it.
I
Um,
hope so, because I think that, like with my previous books, they've been very, they've been much more esoteric based, and this is the one. This is my book for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's it. They could start here and then move on to the other stuff,
Exactly.
which,
Yeah.
even with your other, publications and stuff, the amount of research and study that you must have put into them. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's it's fantastic. I applaud you for
Thank
that,
you.
because it is, but again, it's information that is really great to know, and it just gives you more of that broader aspect to pull from when you are doing readings.
Exactly.
And that's really
Yeah.
helpful. And I love that. I love that. So we are actually almost at 45 minutes already.
Oh my God, it just flies.
So this is your time to tell us where to find all your things, find you, all of that. So you go right
Yes.
ahead.
Okay. So most everything is at tsusanchang.com. You can find, how to find me for readings or classes or where all the books are. I do maintain one other website for my Etsy stuff, which is I make these cases for tarot decks, and I make
Nice.
zodiacal perfumes, including perfumes based on your birth chart, if that's what you want. So, that's all at Etsy. That's etsy.com/shop/tarotista. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So Etsy.com/ go ahead again with that. I'm typing it
Yeah,
in.
/shop/tarotista.
It's tarotista. I like it. I
Yes,
like it. I
thank
have to.
you.
I don't know. I just have to sing things sometimes. I'm just weird. So yeah. So I'm just weird like that. So where can so on your website everybody can find your course if they are interested in doing that, and I know on your Unfortunate Wheelhouse too, I was listening and I know you update it, and because I have it saved on my podcast so it pops up. And I know you were talking about with your book and with the course that you had some things going on with that. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yes. So the difference between the book and the course, first of all, is important, which is that obviously the book is available to everyone and it's easy to get on Amazon or whatever. It's very simple. But what you get with the course, which is slightly different from the book, is that you get the monthly meetings, because we do have a monthly Zoom meeting that everybody goes to who wants to. I provide feedback on all the final assignments, so there's 8 of those in the course. And also, if you graduate, which is a select group of people, if you graduate, you get a 1-question reading with me.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's a major incentive.
Yes, definitely. And you also have a Facebook group.
Yes,
Right?
Fortune's Wheelhouse Academy, which has got like 1,500 people or more. I don't know, a whole lot of
I
people
know,
on there now.
nice chunk of people in there. And I love
Nice
too that.
chunk of people on there, wonderful people,
Yeah.
fantastic conversations, just really lovely bunch of people. So, and that's free to everyone to join, of course.
Yes, definitely. So that's on Facebook. You can definitely find it there.
And then I'm on Instagram as T. Susan Chang, and Twitter sort of as T. Susan Chang
I
as
know. I'm
well.
kind of like that too. I'm kind of like a
Yeah.
sorta. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll remember too to post on it. I'm like, oh yeah, let me post on that. Check it out.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the Living Tarot is coming out on May 8th, and it is for pre-order right now. So you can go on
Right.
Amazon and get
Copies are going out.
absolutely. And also too, once you do get the book and you peruse it, make sure you go on and do a review, because those are very, very important for authors. It's great for feedback for publishers. And then they, it seems like such a silly thing, but it's so important.
It makes a
So
huge difference.
it really does. Like it's a really a great way to gauge the book and all of that. And so if you and if you have any other books of Susan as well, definitely make sure you post it, tag it, share them. Like share the things. We love sharing things.
The things,
The things,
exactly.
all of the things. But yeah, so I think we are all good here. Also, I'm going to add my little tidbit too. My Kickstarter is live right now, and we are about halfway funded. So
Congratulations.
yeah, so definitely head to my link in my bio on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever, and then you can find that, or just put in Stardust Wonder Tarot into Kickstarter, and it will pop up for you. So thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. This is a lot of fun. This was
It
good.
was so much fun.
And also, everybody make sure you give Susie a follow. And also, if you have any questions, you can put it in the comments and I can tag her or answer it for you, any of those good things. And thank you for joining us today. All right, guys.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.